Admiral Marcus Stone stood at the window of Earth Defense Fleet headquarters, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The lights of Lunar City glittered below, a testament to humanity's first steps into space. But today, those lights seemed dim against the weight of the message he'd just received. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension in his shoulders. The holographic display flickered to life in the center of his office, showing a figure that looked almost human, but not quite. The proportions were wrong. The eyes too large, the skin a pale blue that no Earth-born human had ever possessed. "People of Earth," the alien figure spoke in perfectly translated English, "I am High Admiral Voss of the Galactic Empire. Your world has been marked for integration into our domain. You have 30 standard days to surrender your sovereignty and accept imperial rule. Failure to comply will result in your planet's pacification through military force." Stone's jaw tightened. The message continued, listing Earth's apparent military assets with dismissive precision. 48 orbital defense platforms, 50 ships of war, most barely worthy of the name, according to the Empire, and a primitive defense grid that hadn't even achieved faster-than-light capability. "Your species shows promise," Voss continued, "but lacks the maturity for true independence. Accept our rule, and we will guide you to the stars. Resist, and we will do so anyway, after whatever bloodshed your primitive defenses require." The hologram faded, leaving Stone alone with his thoughts and the quiet hum of life support systems. He turned back to the window, looking past the lunar surface to the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, an Imperial fleet was already moving toward Earth, confident in their superior numbers and technology. A gentle chime announced another visitor. "Enter," Stone called out, not turning from his vigil. "Sir." Lieutenant Tom Harris stepped into the office, tablet in hand. "The council is assembled and waiting for your assessment." Stone nodded, finally turning to face the younger officer. "Tell me, Lieutenant, what do you see when you look at our defenses?" Harris blinked, caught off guard by the question. "Sir, humor me. What would you see if you were an alien empire looking down at Earth?" Understanding dawned in Harris's eyes. "I'd see exactly what they want us to let them see, sir." A thin smile crossed Stone's face. "Precisely." He walked to his desk, pressing his palm against the security scanner. A hidden display emerged from the surface, showing a very different set of numbers than those the Empire had so confidently quoted. "The Empire sees what any arrogant power would expect to see," Stone continued. "A handful of obvious orbital platforms, a small fleet of ships, most of them clearly visible in high orbit. But they don't see the platforms hidden in the asteroid belt. They don't see the weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites. And most importantly," his smile grew slightly wider, "they don't see the Thunderchild." Harris straightened at the mention of humanity's secret weapon. "Have you informed Commander Walker, sir?" "She's already preparing. The Empire's scans missed our quantum phase technology completely, just as we designed it to do. They think we're decades away from achieving that level of advancement." Stone picked up his own tablet, reviewing the emergency protocols that would soon be put into action. "Humanity learned long ago, Lieutenant, that the best defense isn't always a wall of guns. Sometimes it's making your enemy so certain of your weakness that they never see the knife until it's at their throat." He turned back to the window one final time, watching as a supply shuttle made its way up from the lunar surface. In 30 days, that same path would be taken by Imperial warships, their commanders confident in their overwhelming superiority. They would expect to find a primitive species cowering behind outdated defenses. "Send word to all commands," Stone ordered. "Operation Trojan Horse is now in effect. Let's show the Empire exactly why they should have looked closer at the primitives they're so eager to conquer." Commander Jane Walker moved through the corridors of the Thunderchild with practiced ease, despite the ship's artificial gravity being set to minimum power. Around her, crew members worked with quiet efficiency, running final checks on systems that officially didn't exist. "Status report," she called out as she entered the bridge. The massive viewing window before her showed Neptune's blue surface, behind which the Thunderchild had been hiding during its final testing phase. "All systems green, Commander," replied Jack Moore, her chief engineer. He looked up from his console, dark circles under his eyes betraying the long hours the entire crew had been pulling. "The quantum phase shields are holding at full power, and the gravity manipulators are operating within expected parameters." Walker nodded, settling into her command chair. The bridge of the Thunderchild looked nothing like the primitive warships the Empire had detected in Earth's fleet. Instead of basic radar and missile systems, advanced holographic displays showed real-time quantum readings and gravity field analyses. "Show me the weapon test results," she ordered. A three-dimensional projection appeared in the center of the bridge, displaying the effects of their last weapons trial. The test asteroid, nearly the size of a small moon, had been literally torn apart by the ship's gravity weapons, its pieces forming a perfect spiral pattern in space. "Beautiful," Walker murmured, "like a work of art." "A very deadly work of art," added Lisa Young, the weapons officer. "The gravity lance can now be focused to affect specific portions of a target. We could theoretically cut an enemy ship in half without damaging any nearby vessels." The entire bridge crew paused as a priority message flashed across their screens. Walker leaned forward, reading Admiral Stone's transmission about the Empire's ultimatum. 30 days. They had 30 days before the Empire arrived, expecting to find an easy conquest. "Well," Walker said, standing up, "looks like our testing period just got cut short." Status of the stealth systems. Moore pulled up another display. "The quantum masking field is operating at 100% efficiency. As far as any Imperial scans are concerned, we're just another piece of space debris floating around Neptune." Walker walked to the viewing window, watching as a small shuttle carried supplies from their hidden base on one of Neptune's moons. The Thunderchild was humanity's masterpiece, a warship built using technology recovered from 3 different crashed alien vessels over the past 50 years. While the world saw NASA struggling with basic rocket technology, hidden facilities across the solar system had been reverse engineering advanced alien tech. "The Empire thinks they're being generous," Walker said, turning back to her crew, "giving us 30 days to accept their rule, to bow down to their superior civilization." She smiled, but there was steel in it. "They don't realize we've been preparing for something like this for half a century." Message from command. The communications officer announced. "Operation Trojan Horse is in effect. We're to maintain position until the Empire commits their forces against Earth's visible defenses." Walker returned to her chair, bringing up the tactical display. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Let the Empire think they were facing a primitive species with predictable defenses. Let them commit their forces, become overconfident. Then, when they were fully engaged and their guard was down, the Thunderchild would show them just how wrong their assumptions had been. "Run one final check on all systems," she ordered. "When we reveal ourselves, I want this ship operating at peak efficiency. The Empire believes they're dealing with primitives who barely understand space travel. Let's show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to make our enemies underestimate us until it's too late." Around Neptune, the Thunderchild waited in perfect silence, its advanced systems hidden behind layers of quantum manipulation. Like its namesake from the ancient novel, it was preparing to strike fear into the hearts of an invading force that thought victory was assured. But unlike the fictional vessel, this Thunderchild had more than just courage on its side. It had the power to make the Empire regret their arrogance. The Imperial fleet broke through the darkness of space like a storm of metal stars. 500 warships, their hulls gleaming with the cold light of distant suns, moved in perfect formation toward Earth. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, bristling with weapons that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Admiral Reed stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Might, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the command deck. The tactical display showed Earth's pitiful defenses, a mere 50 ships arranged in a defensive sphere around the planet, along with their primitive orbital platforms. Pathetic, Reed muttered, his golden uniform reflecting the blue glow of Earth on his view screen. They didn't even try to run or hide. Begin broadcasting on all frequencies. The communications officer complied, and Reed's voice boomed across space, reaching every Earth vessel and ground station. This is Imperial Admiral Reed. Your 30 days have expired. Surrender now, and we will minimize civilian casualties. Resist, and we will make an example of your world. In Earth Defense Fleet Headquarters, Admiral Stone watched the Imperial fleets approach. His officers waited tensely for orders, but Stone seemed almost relaxed as he studied the enemy formation. "Sir," one of his officers spoke up, "they're deploying into attack positions. 500 ships against our 50. We should stick to the plan." Stone interrupted calmly. "Send the response we prepared." Across space, Reed received Earth's answer. A simple message appeared on his screen. "We choose to resist." Reed's face twisted in a mix of amusement and contempt. "Very well. Battle Formation Delta. Target their largest ships first. Let's make this quick." The Imperial fleet began to spread out, their formation shifting like a giant net preparing to close around its prey. Behind Mars, hidden from both visual detection and Imperial scans, the Thunderchild waited silently. Commander Walker and her crew watched their displays as the Empire's ships moved exactly where Admiral Stone had predicted they would. "They're using standard Imperial conquest tactics," Walker observed, "just like the files from the crashed ships suggested. They haven't changed their strategy in 100 years. "Message from Command," her communications officer reported. "Admiral Stone says, the fish has taken the bait." Walker nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Imperial fleet had committed fully to their attack pattern, focusing their attention on Earth's visible defenders. Their rear guard was minimal. Why waste ships watching for threats that couldn't possibly exist? Quantum phase shields at full power, Moore reported from his engineering station. Gravity weapons primed. Enemy fleet approaching optimal strike position, Lisa added from weapons control. They'll be fully committed to their attack run in 3 minutes. Walker took a deep breath, remembering all the simulations, all the training. Everything humanity had learned from studying alien technology in secret was about to be put to the test. "Send word to Admiral Stone. Thunderchild is ready." On Earth, Stone watched as the Imperial fleet moved into their final attack position. Reed's voice came through again. "This is your last chance. Surrender now, or watch your species die." Stone smiled, knowing that behind Mars, the Thunderchild was preparing to move. "Send our response," he ordered. Aboard his flagship, Reed received the Earth transmission. It was just 2 words. How theatrical. Before Reed could respond, his tactical officer shouted in alarm. Something massive was emerging from behind Mars, something their scans couldn't properly read. As the Thunderchild revealed itself, its quantum phase shields distorting the very space around it, Reed felt the first stirring of doubt. The trap was sprung. Now it was time to show the Empire exactly how wrong they had been about humanity's capabilities. The Thunderchild moved like a ghost through space, its quantum phase shields bending light around its hull. On its bridge, Commander Walker watched as the Imperial fleet's rear guard finally noticed their approach. "They're trying to scan us," Moore reported from his engineering station, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Their sensors can't make sense of our shield signature." Multiple Imperial ships breaking formation, Lisa announced from weapons, 3 dreadnoughts moving to intercept. Walker allowed herself a small smile. "Just as we predicted. They're following standard Imperial doctrine, sending their heaviest ships to deal with an unknown threat." She leaned forward in her command chair. "Time to show them why that's a mistake. Bring gravity weapons online." The 3 Imperial dreadnoughts approached with cold precision, their massive guns tracking the Thunderchild. On their bridges, Targeting computers struggled to lock onto a ship that seemed to flicker in and out of normal space. Unknown vessel, a transmission crackled through the Thunderchild speakers. You have entered an Imperial combat zone. Surrender or be destroyed. Walker nodded to her communications officer, who opened a channel. This is Commander Walker of the Earth Defense Fleet. We surrender. There was a pause. Then, stand by for boarding. Now, Walker ordered. The Thunderchild's gravity weapons activated. To the Imperial crews, it seemed as if space itself had gone mad. Invisible forces grabbed their massive ships, not damaging them, but pulling them with irresistible force. The three dreadnoughts, each over a mile long, were suddenly caught in artificially created gravity wells that dragged them toward each other. Impossible, Admiral Reed shouted from his flagship, watching as his three most powerful ships collided in a catastrophic dance of twisted metal and exploding fuel cells. All ships concentrate fire on that vessel. A wall of energy beams and projectiles streaked toward the Thunderchild. Walker remained calm. Quantum phase shields holding. Yes, Commander, Moore replied. They're hitting nothing but empty space. The shields are phasing their attacks into another dimension. The Imperial fleet's confidence began to crack as they watched their weapons pass harmlessly through their target. The Thunderchild answered with another blast from its gravity weapons, this time creating a vortex that caught a group of smaller Imperial ships and crushed them together like toys in a giant's hand. Main Imperial fleet is breaking off their attack on Earth's defenses, Lisa reported. They're turning to engage us. Perfect. Walker opened a channel to Admiral Stone. Phase 1 complete, sir. The Empire has taken the bait. Stone's voice came back clear and strong. Execute Phase 2. Earth fleet, engage at will. The 50 ships that the Empire had dismissed as primitive suddenly revealed their own surprises. Quantum shields flickered to life around them as they charged forward, no longer pretending to be outdated vessels. The orbital platforms that Imperial scans had detected transformed, quantum phase technology revealing weapon systems far beyond what the Empire had expected. Multiple Imperial ships attempting to retreat, Lisa announced. They're falling into chaos. Walker watched as the carefully orchestrated trap sprung fully open. The Empire's neat formations dissolved as they tried to deal with technology they'd never seen before. Their rigid battle doctrine, so effective against conventional opponents, became a liability as they faced an enemy that broke all their rules of warfare. Target their command and control ships, Walker ordered. Let's see how well their perfect formation holds when they can't coordinate. The Thunderchild's gravity weapons reached out again, this time creating localized distortions around Imperial communication arrays. Ships that tried to send orders found their signals twisted into nonsense by artificial gravity wells. Admiral Reed stared in disbelief as his fleet, the pride of the Empire, fell into disarray. These primitives had not only hidden their true capabilities, but had developed weapons that made a mockery of Imperial defenses. As he watched another group of his ships fall victim to the Thunderchild's impossible weapons, he realized that this wasn't going to be the easy conquest he had promised his superiors. The battle for Earth had truly begun, and the Empire was learning a harsh lesson about underestimating their opponents. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of Imperial ships. The Thunderchild moved through the debris field like a predator, its quantum phase shields flickering with each new attack it absorbed. Commander Walker stood from her command chair, watching as 3 more Imperial cruisers tried to coordinate an attack run. They're learning, she noted, trying to time their attacks between our shield phases. Not that it'll help them, Moore said from engineering. The quantum computers are adjusting our phase timing faster than they can track. A massive explosion lit up the view screen as the Imperial cruisers fired. Their combined beam weapons, enough to crack a planet's crust, passed harmlessly through the Thunderchild's hull. Before they could fire again, the ship's gravity weapons reached out, creating a web of artificial gravity wells that tore the cruisers apart. Imperial fleet is attempting to regroup, Lisa reported from her weapons station. They're forming a defensive sphere around their flagship. Walker nodded. They're finally starting to realize their standard tactics won't work. She opened a channel to Admiral Stone. Thunderchild to command. The Empire is shifting to defensive positions. Well done, Commander, Stone replied. Time for Phase 3. Show them what else we've been hiding. Walker smiled. You heard the Admiral. More, bring the quantum torpedo system online. The Thunderchild's hull shifted, panels opening to reveal weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. The quantum torpedoes were humanity's newest creation, combining their gravity manipulation technology with quantum phase mechanics. Target the gap between their defensive formations, Walker ordered. Let's show them what happens when they bunch up too close together. The torpedo launched, a streak of blue-white energy that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. The Imperial ships attempted to shoot it down, but like the Thunderchild itself, their weapons passed right through it. The torpedo detonated in the middle of their formation, creating a massive quantum phase bubble. Ships caught in the bubble found themselves partially phased into another dimension. Metal screamed as portions of their hulls existed in two different realities at once. 15 Imperial vessels were torn apart in seconds, their crews never having a chance to understand what hit them. Multiple distress calls from the Imperial fleet, the communications officer reported. They're asking what we are. Walker opened a broadcast channel. This is Commander Walker of the Thunderchild. You came to our world assuming we were primitives. You judged us by our visible technology, never considering that we might be hiding our true capabilities. This is your one chance to retreat. On his flagship, Admiral Reed watched in horror as another wave of quantum torpedoes launched from the Thunderchild. His mighty fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was being torn apart by weapons that shouldn't exist. Status report, he demanded. We've lost 30% of the fleet, his tactical officer replied, voice shaking. Their weapons, sir, they're using technology we've never seen before. The quantum phase effects are making our shields useless. Reed slammed his fist on his command console. Impossible. They're supposed to be primitives. They shouldn't even have basic spaceflight, let alone quantum technology. Sir, his second-in-command said quietly, perhaps we should consider their offer to retreat. Never. Reed shouted. Reform the fleet. All ships, concentrate fire on their orbital platforms. If we can't beat their superweapon, we'll destroy their defensive infrastructure. But as his fleet tried to move into position, Earth's primitive orbital platforms revealed their own surprises. Quantum shields flickered to life around them, and gravity beam emitters emerged from hidden compartments. Walker watched from the Thunderchild's bridge as Earth's full defensive network activated. They still don't understand, she said softly. This isn't about the technology. It's about knowing when to hide your strength, when to let your enemy underestimate you, and when to show them exactly how wrong they were. The battle entered its next phase, and the Empire was about to learn an even harsher lesson about the dangers of judging an opponent by appearances alone. Admiral Reed's face had turned an ugly shade of purple as he watched his mighty fleet crumble before the Thunderchild and Earth's revealed defenses. His bridge crew worked in terrified silence, knowing their commander had reached his breaking point. If we can't destroy them conventionally, Reed snarled, then we'll do it unconventionally. Prepare the Nova charges. His second-in-command went pale. Sir, those are forbidden by Imperial law except in cases off. Do it, Reed shouted. These primitives want to show us their hidden weapons. Let's show them ours. Aboard the Thunderchild, Walker's crew detected the new threat immediately. Commander, Lisa called from her weapons station. They're arming some kind of super weapon. Energy readings are off the charts. Walker studied the tactical display, watching as the Imperial flagship's hull opened to reveal devices that pulsed with deadly energy. Analysis. If those are Nova charges, Moore said grimly, they could trigger a chain reaction in our sun. They'd destroy themselves too, but they'd take the whole solar system with them. Walker opened a channel to Admiral Stone. "Sir, we have a situation." "I see it," Stone replied calmly. Now we know why they were so confident. "Time for the last surprise, Commander. Activate Protocol Omega." Walker smiled. "Yes, sir." She turned to her crew. "You heard the Admiral. More, bring the quantum mirror online." The Thunderchild's hull began to transform. Panels shifted and rearranged themselves as the ship's most secret weapon prepared to fire. This wasn't reverse-engineered alien technology. This was purely human innovation. Reed watched in confusion as the Earth ship seemed to fold in on itself. "What are they doing?" "Target those charges. Fire as soon as." The Nova charges launched, streaking toward Earth's sun in a deadly barrage. At that same moment, the Thunderchild completed its transformation. A massive dish of pure energy formed in front of the ship, like a mirror made of quantum particles. "Quantum mirror at full power," Moore reported, "ready to reflect." Walker nodded. "Send those charges right back where they came from." The Nova charges hit the quantum mirror and bounced back, their deadly energy perfectly reflected. Reed had just enough time to realize his mistake before his own weapons returned to his fleet. "Evasive action," he screamed, but it was too late. The charges detonated in the middle of the Imperial formation. While they weren't close enough to the sun to trigger the chain reaction Reed had planned, the explosions consumed nearly a third of his remaining ships in a blast of artificial stellar fire. "Imperial fleet is in chaos," Lisa reported with satisfaction. "Their formations are completely broken. Several ships are attempting to flee." Walker opened a broadcast channel to all Imperial vessels. "This is Commander Walker. You came to our world thinking we were primitive. You threatened our planet, our people, and now you violated your own laws by using forbidden weapons. But unlike you, we don't believe in unnecessary destruction. Stand down, and you may leave with what remains of your fleet." On his damaged flagship, Reed stared at the tactical display in disbelief. More than half his fleet was destroyed or crippled. The mighty Imperial Armada, terror of 1,000 worlds, had been outmaneuvered and outfought by a single Earth ship and its supporting forces. "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, "we have to decide. The crew is looking to you." Reed gripped his command chair so hard his knuckles turned white. His reputation would be ruined. The Empire would never trust him with a fleet again. But if he didn't withdraw now, there might not be a fleet left to command. "Prepare for one final assault," he said, his voice shaking with rage. "All remaining ships. Everything we have. If we're going to lose, we'll make sure they remember the Empire's power." The Thunderchild's crew watched as the Imperial ships gathered for their last, desperate attack. Walker looked at her tactical display, knowing that the next few minutes would decide everything. "All hands," she announced, "prepare for final engagement." The remains of the Imperial fleet gathered for their final attack. 100 ships, barely a fifth of their original force, formed up behind Admiral Reed's damaged flagship. The void between Earth and Mars glittered with debris from destroyed vessels, a testament to humanity's hidden strength. "They're powering up everything they have left," Lisa reported from her weapons station aboard the Thunderchild. "Energy readings suggest they've disabled their safety protocols." Commander Walker nodded, understanding what that meant. The Imperial ships were preparing to overload their reactors, turning themselves into massive bombs if necessary. "Admiral Stone," she called over the comm, requesting permission to end this with minimal casualties. "Permission granted, Commander." Stone's voice came back clear and strong. "Show them why humanity values mercy as much as strength." Walker stood from her command chair. "All hands, execute pattern echo. More, bring all quantum systems to maximum power. Lisa, target their engines only." The Thunderchild's hull hummed as it gathered power. Around Earth, the defense platforms and support ships moved into position, creating a web of overlapping fields. "They're charging," Lisa warned. 10 seconds to their attack run. Walker opened a channel to the Imperial fleet. "Admiral Reed, this is your final warning. Stand down, or we will be forced to disable your entire fleet." Reed's response came back instantly, his voice cracking with rage. "We are the Imperial fleet. We do not surrender to primitives." 5 seconds. Lisa counted down. Walker sighed. "So be it. Execute pattern echo." The Thunderchild's quantum phase shields expanded suddenly, creating a massive bubble of altered space. At the same time, its gravity weapons fired in a precise pattern, creating a complex web of artificial gravity wells. The defense platforms added their power, forming a trap that hadn't been tested outside of simulations. The Imperial ships fired everything they had, their reactors pushing past safety limits. Energy beams and projectiles streaked toward Earth in a final desperate barrage. But they never reached their target. The combined effect of the quantum fields and gravity wells caught the Imperial attack and turned it back on itself. Not toward the Imperial ships, but into a controlled pattern that surrounded them like a net. Their own energy weapons were transformed into bonds that held them in place. "Pattern echo successful," Moore reported with wonder in his voice. "All Imperial ships are contained." Through the view screen, Walker watched as the mighty Imperial fleet hung helpless in space, caught in fields of their own power. With their reactors drained from the massive attack, they had no energy left to resist. "Open a channel to Admiral Reed," Walker ordered. "All frequencies." Reed's face appeared on the screen, his once proud expression now a mask of disbelief. Walker spoke clearly and calmly. "Your ships are disabled but undamaged. Your crews are safe. We could destroy you, but that's not our way. Instead, you'll return to your empire with a message. Earth is not to be underestimated, and humanity will not bow to threats." There was a long moment of silence before Reed replied, his voice barely a whisper. How did primitives like you hide such power from us?" Walker allowed herself a small smile. "Because we learned long ago that appearing weak when you are strong is the greatest advantage. Your empire saw what it expected to see, a primitive world with primitive defenses. You never considered that we might have chosen to appear that way." She nodded to her communications officer, who began transmitting data to the Imperial flagship. "These are corridors of safe passage out of our solar system. Use them. Remember this day. Remember that humanity could have destroyed you, but chose mercy instead. Remember that appearances can be deceiving, and that true strength lies not in conquering others, but in knowing when to show restraint." The Imperial ships, released from their energy prison, began their retreat. As they limped away from Earth, Admiral Stone's voice came over the Thunderchild's comm. "Well done, Commander. The Empire will think twice before judging a species by its apparent level of technology again." Walker watched the Imperial fleet disappear into the darkness of space. Earth was safe, and humanity had proven itself not just through superior technology or tactical skill, but through the wisdom of knowing when to hide their strength and when to show mercy. "Helm," she ordered, "take us home."